When I graduated from high school, I had a background in art. In high school, I took an art honors class and went on to college and studied art history. Then I moved to Fargo, North Dakota, where I started working in IT after studying art and graphic design and web design. I started a business for video surveillance, and we were using the internet to record video, and the owners of these businesses could access their video at any time, and they didn't have to worry about their video being stolen because they were being stored to the cloud. That career lasted until about 2007 when I had my second child. When my children were young, I got really tired of not getting the great photographs of them. They move so quickly. By the time the camera went off, they were halfway across the room or their smile was gone. So I asked my husband at Christmas, I wanted a decent camera. And so he did. He bought me a Nikon and I started taking pictures of my kids and sharing those on social media. And when my friends started saying, "Oh, you should be a photographer," I thought, why would I do that? I'm in my 40s. I don't need another career. I had a business that was thriving at the time, but I really enjoyed it. And it was bringing me back to those art roots because I could be creative. I thought about it a little longer and decided why not? So I started by asking friends and family to pose for me. I didn't have a studio, and it's Fargo, North Dakota, so there's a very small window where you get to shoot outside, where there's not a lot of humidity, heat, cold,
Brr.
ice, bugs, you name it, we have it. So I would enlist some families to go shoot at a park with me. I quickly learned that that was not my path. I didn't enjoy it, so I thought this was not for me. Right when I thought about quitting, I stumbled on a video by Sue Bryce. And if you're not familiar with Sue Bryce, you need to Google her. She is a master at her craft, and she was photographing women in a more glamorous contemporary style portraiture. And it was like they stepped off the cover of the magazine. So she was doing the full service of hair, makeup, lashes, beautiful wardrobe, and having everyday women step in front of that camera and feel like a supermodel for a day. That spoke to me. I love fashion. I love art. I love creative shoots. So I bought her education and started learning from her. I did this for about a year. I brought women into my home because I didn't have a studio. So, you don't need a lot of gear to get started. I had a picture window that I could put some sheets up, to filter the light. I had a camera. So that was enough to get started. And again, I would just ask friends to come and help me with this concept of photographing women in a beautiful way and keeping that vintage, timeless, classic look that I so much, love from fashion magazines. And a friend said yes. So I brought her into my home. We had a blast. We did the whole hair, makeup, lashes with a stylist friend that was a mutual friend of ours. And we just had a blast creating those photos. After building a portfolio for a year, I had about 30 women that I could share in my gallery so that when I went out to sell this service, I had something that I could show. That quickly filled up. Women would see these photos, they wanted to have this experience, and it grew so quickly that I started second guessing whether or not I needed to have two careers. So at the age of 44, I quit my other business. I closed it up and I became a full-time photographer. So if you are just starting out and you are in your 40s or 50s or 60s, don't let anything stop you. There is nothing stopping you from changing your career if this is something that you love doing. After learning from Sue Bryce, She asked me to become a mentor back in 2014, and we flew to Studio City, California, to her studio where she was going to coach us on how to mentor other photographers with her education. And that was a big growth spurt for me because I was still new to this photography industry. I wasn't sure how much I would have to offer that, but I'm also a risk taker. There's not a lot of things that I won't try because I'm not afraid to fail at it. I just know that if I fail at it, I needed to learn something and pivot, and find that, process that would work for me. And she helped with that. She helped me understand what it takes to pass that information along to other photographers. And that is what I'm going to be doing with you here on my channel, is just sharing all of the knowledge that I've learned, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. I want you to find your own path though. So take this information and go off and just play. Play with all different types of genres, play with different lighting setups, different backdrops. If you're an outdoor shooter, if you're an indoor shooter. Again, after finding my niche, I did not want to shoot outside. Because there are bugs, there is wind, there's different elements that we have to deal with when we're out scouting for locations. And I could control the environment in my studio. So that's what I decided to do. One of the things that I recommend to my mentees is finding your why. Why do you want to be a photographer? What do you love shooting? Um, I learned what I loved doing by learning what I didn't love doing. I didn't love being outside in the elements. I didn't enjoy wrangling families together for portraits. I knew I didn't want to shoot newborns or weddings or things like that. So I built my niche of women, especially, 30 years of age or older, because I myself was in my 40s at the time and I could relate to that woman. So my why was I wanted to help women feel beautiful after having their babies, raising their families, being a wife, being a mom, being a coworker, wearing all of these hats, and having her rediscover that beautiful, vibrant woman that has been there all along, but we just needed to uncover that portion of her again. And that's exactly what I'm doing today, still through portrait and boudoir photography. Grab a notebook and a pencil and start writing out all the things that you don't want to shoot. And that's going to help you zero in on the things that you do love. When I was starting out, I knew nothing about cameras. I didn't know what lens to use, what camera to buy. I couldn't tell you what an aperture was at the time. And these were my stumbling blocks. I felt like I needed to know all of these things in order to get started instead of learning my camera as I went. And now 14 years later, I've built a six-figure income just by baby stepping my way here. And that is just learning a piece at a time. You don't need to know everything all at once. These are things that we're going to walk through in these videos, and I hope you join me. If you're starting in your 20s or 30s or 40s or beyond, there really is no age limit to running a business and doing something that you love. So, some of the topics that we're going to be talking about are finding your niche, which is coming in the next video. We're also going to be talking about, some of the essentials that you need to get started, and you don't need a lot to get started. You don't need all the fancy gear. You don't need the lights. You don't need a lot of that. We're going to talk about that in more detail. Look, learning all of this stuff is not easy. It's going to feel overwhelming. It's going to feel frustrating. It's going to feel like you're failing at every turn. I experienced the same thing when I was learning through Sue Bryce. You know, Sue Bryce education taught me a lot of things, but I also fought back on a lot of it. You know, people in my area aren't going to pay this price for a service like this. I came up with every excuse why it wouldn't work because when I would try it, I failed. Now, because I failed doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means that I needed to keep at it and change my mindset around what it is that I was offering, how much I could charge for it, what my target market was, and who I was advertising to, right? Because there are people out there that need your service. You just need to go out there and find them. So now, if you take a piece of this education and you apply it and it doesn't work the first time, try it again. Put your own spin on it. That's exactly what I had to do. Every turn I would say would not work in the Fargo market. Sue Bryce would come right back and say, "You're not doing it. You're not putting in the work." And it took a while. It took a while of failing and trying again and failing and trying again until I finally had a great sale off of one of the women that I photographed in my living room in my home. And then I realized she was right. It does work. I wasn't doing it right, or I wasn't believing in myself that I could do this. But it just took that first one to change my mindset. And after that, I knew I could do it. So I hope that when you take these tips and tricks and everything that I'll be sharing along the way, is just keep at it. Don't give up. If this is something that you absolutely love doing, then don't give up. In my next video, we're going to be talking about finding your niche and what stands out in a crowded market. Again, we're going to go through all of the things that you don't love shooting. What absolutely do you want to stay away from? And then what really fills you up and what you're passionate about. So let's talk about that. We're going to talk about why it matters. I'm going to give you some examples of companies that have found their niche and it absolutely works for them. So subscribe to my channel and I'll see you on the next video.